Well, they've roped me into doing the show here. We've got stuff to talk about today on the Friday edition of NSF Live. We're going to be talking about black hole pictures. I'm going to scroll down. We've got Starship static fired twice out there at Boca. 5 years of NSF on YouTube. The last Delta IV Heavy is going to Delta IV Heavy, and I think that this show is starting 5 minutes late. Welcome to NSF Live. Roll the music.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god!
Decollage.
What do you think?
Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
It's just going to come back to me, apparently, and we're going to do a show here. I already did the intro. What am I supposed to say now? Do I introduce who's on the show? I forgot how to do this sort of stuff. Folks, it's NSF Live. Y'all know we changed it up a little bit. We've been doing it a little bit later on Fridays instead of on Sundays. We still do things on other special occasions. But if we can get EJ to stop reading his Encyclopedia of Aviation and Jack to wave at the camera, we're going to be doing a show here. How y'all doing today?
Oh, I'm just great. Yeah, this is great. Thanks for stopping by. It's great. I just got to take my reading glasses off. How are you?
Don't let us bother you, EJ. You look like you were busy.
I was reading about Hueys.
Reading about Hueys. How is that relevant to black holes?
Both of those spin.
Hey, as long as it wasn't Comanches.
Starting off with a bang here. Okay.
I'll allow it. If y'all have seen this show before, you know EJ over here, longtime buddy from Twitch. You might be watching on his Twitch channel right now. EJ, thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me. I mean, thank you for joining us. Wait a minute. You're locked in here with me.
Yeah, gracing us with your presence. How
Nice.
how benevolent of you.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to come over there and splash water on you if you're not careful, Jack.
Don't full screen me. Why would you full screen me? No one wants to see this.
Anyways, y'all know Jack too. Look, that was Jack over there too. We're gonna try to keep it a little bit more on the rails today to try to get some interesting and insightful conversation. We did an episode on moon trains and we couldn't even keep it on the rails. The episode was about rails.
Well, the moon train might not have rails, Doss. It might be more of a moon caravan.
That is true. It might be a moon caravan. Where are we gonna start? You know what we should do? At some point, and I don't know if Kevin's set to support this, every single time we roll the intro, there's like all the little edits and audio bits. At some point during this show, we should go through and talk about all the little audio bits that get thrown in. I don't think we're going to start with that, but let's start with some science news, shall we? Anybody wants to raise hands for science news?
I'm finding the link to the audio bits, so somebody else talk.
Like nobody raised their hand. EJ didn't even raise his hand. He just sit there like doing his things.
What I was going to, but you talked before me.
Just talk over me. No one wants to hear me. No one wants to see me.
All right, fine. I will. Be
Just
quiet.
steamroll me.
Rails, bumpers. We're gonna like put those bumpers in. You know, like at the bowling alleys when they put those inflatable bumpers in.
Yeah.
So that
I somehow
you can't end
still
up in the
manage
gutter.
to get gutter balls even when those are up. So that's my life.
So this is, they got a clearer image of the black hole. Like this is not really my area of expertise here, Das. But I noticed I saw the image before that they had from what is that, like a year ago, and it's not as clear as that one.
Yeah, it's two different things.
Yeah.
Like I really wonder if any of us are qualified to talk about the black hole here, but let's give it our dangdest try. Because this big news, there was like this whole teaser thing about, they're going to have a release, new information about black holes. And everybody's like, what's it going to be this time? Right. And so the new information that came out was this image That older one, the M87 one, that's a different black hole, and this new one, the Sagittarius A. Sagittarius A is the black hole at the center of the Milky Way, isn't it? Like it's in Sagittarius if you look up at it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, gosh, we always get this sort of deal because, as is the norm with many different types of space imagery, this isn't an image. Or it's not a real image. It's not like you just take the raw data out and you turn it into visible light you've captured, and somehow via the magic of filters, it looks like this in real life. This is a generated image that they took from multiple data gatherings from all sorts of different telescopes, radio telescopes of this Sagittarius A black hole, and they've made it. And so immediately out of the woodwork, everybody's like, oh, they're faking black hole science again.
Oh, not them.
I mean,
it's those people.
To a certain extent,
Not
I can understand like a little bit of grumbling when it comes to imagery like this. Like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm all here for it. But like when you see, for example, pictures of nebula from like Hubble or whatever, and it's like these colors don't correspond to actual colors. They correspond to different elements. It's like if you were there, from a first-person perspective, it wouldn't look like that. So I get it, but at the same time, this is a really awesome image. Just the same, that helps us sort of visualize the black hole at the center of the Milky Way, which is insane.
Well, not only that, but if I read that tweet correctly, while Das was talking, they imaged quote unquote, they imaged two different black holes and figured out that the magnetic field propagates in the same way. That's actually pretty interesting. That magnetic fields, in a black hole are actually propagating in the exact same way. That's pretty cool. I mean, you need 3 for a pattern, but two is not bad. You know what I mean? That's super interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's one of those things that's like on the bleeding edge of humanity's knowledge, and every little grain of sand we can add to that mountain is I appreciate it, because yeah, like you said, 2's not a pattern, but it's a line. It's no longer a point, it's a line. Let's see if we can make a slope or something. I don't know math.
You need 3 Pokemons to battle, man, or do data analysis. I don't know, either one.
Either way, you want to catch them all.
That's going to be tough. There's a lot of black holes out there.
Well, you got to catch them all, EJ. That's the whole point.
You're not wrong. I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Rails, right? Like DOS is muted right now. Rails.
Oh boy.
Black hole's good.
You know what? What's going on like outside of like not practical orbital mechanics, outside of like low, medium, and high Earth orbit and rocket design, like in the rockets that fly around in those areas, is super out of my wheelhouse. I'm not going to lie, but also I didn't know until just now that black holes even had magnetic fields. I did not know that. That's really cool. I actually think that's super interesting. Yeah, that's something that has, that much density that's actually going to warp space and time like that is going to have a magnetic field going with it. You'd think it would just be like a vacuum cleaner. Just nope, here. I'm going to eat that magnetic field too. Nope.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And just to look at this image and see those magnetic field lines, it is just... we live in a crazy, beautiful universe. I don't really know what to say. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, we should go there.
I don't really... Yeah, I would go there. Heck, let's get spaghettified. Let's go through the singularity, baby. Let's do this. I'm here for it.
Oh boy, yeah, that is wild, man. That's really cool stuff.
You've never woken up in the morning and felt an inescapable desire to be compressed into an infinite oneness?
No.
Is that just me?
No, that's just you.
All right, well, fair enough. But yeah, as Das was saying, it's important to note that this is not a direct image. It's a visualization of data. But still super cool, just the same.
Can I talk now? Am I supposed to talk?
You can if you want.
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Apparently. The question is, do you hear everybody else when you're hearing me too, or no? Like, chat, let us know how this is.
It might just... This is probably on my end, Das, but your mic's coming in a little bit scratchy. but that could be my audio preview.
Yeah, I don't know.
For what it's worth.
It's much better now.
5x5.
All right, it's 5x5 now. Yeah, okay.
Sound is good. Yeah.
I don't know. All right, we'll just go with it then.
Yeah.
That's fine. We got to stir in the spaghetti.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So now that we've got the technical hiccup fixed, I got to say something about the whole, they've edited the image, right? Because to think that the only thing that's valid in reality is what your eyes can see, like there's so much that your eyes can't see. Your eyes don't get to see radio. Your eyes don't get to see all the other wavelengths. And the fact that we can visualize these things that your eyes can't naturally perceive is another way of expanding our scope of how we observe the universe, right? So everybody that comes back in here, it's not a real image. That's an image made from something you can't see. It's like, no kidding. We can't see everything. Our eyes don't even work that way. We can play it back as a sound, too. That's just another way for us to fit this incomprehensible thing into our senses that sort of work with our physiology, right?
Right.
I mean, Das, what do you call it? The Mark I eyeball, I believe?
Yeah, the Mark I eyeball.
Yeah, they haven't iterated on that too much. It's kind of old design.
It's tough to say that anything that you can't observe with your eyeball doesn't exist. Like, on the one hand, I understand, right? Like, oh, well, I can't see that. It doesn't exist. But there's a lot of stuff you can't see that doesn't exist, right? So,
or does it?
I'm pretty sure it does. I don't know. What did I say? From my frame of reference, it exists. Like, it's fine from my frame of reference. And to go outside my frame of reference, like, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it's a simulation. Maybe it's not. I'm just going to act like we're all good here. So.
But yeah, just to hit on what you were saying, like, I'm not saying it's not cool to make a visualization of data. I think it's super cool. But it is just important to clarify that that's what it is, and it's not like a visible wavelength light image that you would see if you had, I don't know, a telescope and you were looking through it, and from a spacecraft or something like that. Like, I just, that's me personally, because I grew up looking at the crazy images from Hubble and whatnot and thinking like, wow, that looks so cool, and it does, and they're awesome it's awesome images, and it allows us to visualize things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. But then, it's like learning Santa Claus isn't real. It's like, actually, it doesn't look like that.
Got you.
Yeah.
Santa Claus is real. What are you talking about?
Physics is fake. Like, geez.
Right.
I read the same sort of thing, like when I first started traveling to see rockets in person, right? I never saw a shuttle launch. Like, big problem, big regret of my life is I lived within driving distance, and it was always, it'll launch again next month. I'll make it, right? I never saw a shuttle launch. And when I first got into Twitch and we first started streaming things and I went down there to watch the launches, I went online. And I searched for a website, and I was like, oh, what are these different places that I could go see a rocket launch look like, right? And I saw all these amazing pictures, and I went there. This was actually Playa Linda specifically. I don't remember which website it was. And I went to Playa Linda, and when I got to Playa Linda, I'm like, that website was a lie. The rocket's forever away. And what had happened was there was telephoto compression. Right? And it was this zoom lens where they had backed way off, and then they zoomed in on the rocket from a distance, and they had the crowd in the foreground. So with that compression, it looked like the crowd was really close to the rocket. And then I got there with my Mark I eyeballs, and I'm like, that rocket is tiny. It does look nothing like the picture. And then I had to learn about telephoto compression and that it doesn't actually look that way. So
you think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
I mean, I even get it makes a really cool shot, but I didn't understand the difference. And when I got there, I was expecting that to be what my eyes saw. And even in visible light there for a rocket launch, I was left disappointed because it didn't look like the photographer's view that they had created with this telephoto lens and compression. So
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, Chad, no one would ever do that, right?
Lying on the internet?
No, that never happened. Anyway, yeah, Playa Linda is actually a good bit away, huh?
I mean, it's a little ways away, but it's close to view a rocket launch from. It just didn't look like the picture that I had seen, and it was because I didn't understand that the telephoto lens would compress it the way that it did. So, I don't know, but I understand. Like, I want to experience more than I can just experience with my eyes and ears and stuff. And if there's some way to depict something to me that I can't just go out there and see, then that's cool. Like, let me hear colors or whatever,
Once again, we're doing NSF synesthesia,
anyways,
and I'm here for
Jack
it.
Back?
Can you hear me?
Jack, I'm not.
Can you hear me?
Are we hearing Jack this time?
1, 2, 3.
I am not hearing Jack.
Check 1, check 2, check 3. This is compelling broadcasting.
There we go.
I can hear myself.
All right. I don't think we're hearing Jack in Discord, but it's being sent through to YouTube.
Oh, I'm muted in Discord. I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
Discord. You're good. All right, we're cool. Chat, were there any questions? Like, are there any chat talking points about the whole black hole thing? I mean, not gravity waves, magnetic field lines that are captured because somehow a radio telescope sees polarized light. I still don't even understand how that works. How do you see polarized light with a radio? We need to get like a telescope expert on a show so we can talk through that. But
I'm sure we can find one, dude. We know people.
Anyways.
James Atkinson says more data is more better, which of course I agree with. Just convert the data so we can comprehend it. Yeah, I agree.
I like it.
I agree. Just be clear that that's what you're doing.
Yeah. So you're like truth in how you've manipulated the data. It doesn't mean that you're trying to create things that didn't exist. It just means that you're putting it into some context that we can observe or we can experience.
Right.
Das, that actually, I mean, fellas, that actually reminds me of something. Actually, something very interesting. So, if you cast your mind back to Apollo 8, December 1968, Jim Lovell sees the moon coming up over the horizon. All the pictures are like, if you go Google Earthrise or just image search Earthrise right now, you're going to see a picture of the moon on the lower part in the foreground and the Earth coming up over it. But the ground is going to be perpendicular. The ground on the moon is going to be perpendicular to the bottom frame of the screen, right? But that's not actually what happened. Apollo 8 it was in retro around the moon. It was retrograde around the moon. So the moon wouldn't come up over the horizon. It wouldn't come up over the horizon that way. That picture was actually rotated. When they took it, it was rotated 90 degrees, and the moon was coming up this way over the horizon. But it was edited because, if you see the Earth coming out from the horizon sideways, that's not like the average person is going to look at that and be like, why is it going sideways? So they made it look like how you would view it from the ground with the horizon of the moon relative to the bottom of the screen.
Right.
That image is actually 90 degrees.
I'm 100% okay with that. Like, absolutely editing an image in that way, totally fine. Where I start to jump off board, and this is like, we could get into like philosophically, wow, they brought that up really quick.
There you go.
Good,
nice, Kevin.
Good job, Kevin.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we can get like
picture is sideways.
Philosophical really quick here. Like, when it comes to making a photograph, I strive to basically be an equivalent of what your eyes would see, of course, minus the lens in terms of color and exposure and all of that. That said, sometimes you shoot a composite, and it's like the rocket streak with the stars in the background, and sometimes you can get that in a single image. Sometimes you have to combine multiple images to get that, which isn't real. But if you post an image like that and say, this is a 2-frame composite, this long of an exposure, blah blah blah, if you're clear about what it is, by all means.
Yeah. I even see that sometimes, like on photographer Twitter or everything app or whatever. They're like, oh, is this a single frame? Like, tell us how you made this picture.
I know.
I see that sometimes.
I know exactly who you're talking about, and and we love them for it. At least I do.
Yeah. It's because I get it. Like, they want to understand how it was made, and it's like, now wait a second. I know that you had to pull some shenanigans to make that image work.
Right.
And it's like that gradient between art and science. Here's exactly how things were versus I've made things different to be better or enhance colors or whatever. And there's a middle ground even where I've changed things to bring out details so that we can see more science from this. Like, oh yeah, we're viewing this in just a red filter because then you can see that this plant is reflecting whatever, right? Like, that's still valid science to view it through that lens. No pun intended. But it's just people that come through and say, oh, it's all made up. Everything's made up. Everything's a lie because you touched that image. Like, come on.
Right.
Really?
Right. It's a spectrum like anything. EJ, I never knew that
pay
about...
up for the pun token.
What? Pun token?
Yeah, pay up for the pun token. Jack, what were you saying?
I don't have any pun tokens.
No, I never knew that about the Apollo 8 moonrise image. So
I have water.
I'm simultaneously... wow. I'm simultaneously thankful that you illuminated me on that, and I'm also kind of mad about it because Santa Claus. Once again, Santa Claus isn't real. Easter Bunny's not real. It's like, what's going on? Wow!
Of course they are, man. What are you talking
they're
about?
totally real. They're totally real. It's definitely not your parents.
Hey, at least I guess it says something, because if they had taken it the right way to get that whole landscape, wouldn't they have been taking the photo of Earthrise in like this mode with their cell phone on the spacecraft.
No vertical video.
Like portrait, vertical video, and then they turned
vertical video.
It has a place. And that place is the
Jack,
phone.
to be fair, Das was just saying, don't get upset about that. He was just saying that a second ago. I'm just putting it out there.
It is
EJ,
what it is.
at this point, you know me pretty well. I get upset about the most mundane things, so you know what? it's on brand for me.
Yeah,
Nice.
all right, that's fair.
Hey, y'all, let me say thanks to some folks real quick, because some people are skipping ahead in the show to the sub-segment, I guess, the 5-year thing and the 1 million subs. Ninja Decimator. You have to say it that way.
Yeah, you got to add the lasers, too. You got to add the lasers.
The lasers? It's not like swords or something. Ninja Decimator did a $100 super. I'm just going for 100. We're going to round it up. $99.99, $100 super chat, just saying, congrats on 1 million subs. Ninja Decimator, thank you so much for the support. Thanks for showing up for the shows and supporting all the different wacky things that we do, ranging from Friday edition of This Week in Spaceflight to super serious launch coverage. We do that sometimes, right?
Sometimes. For varying definitions of super serious.
Sometimes. Nice. But I wanted to hit that real quick. Ninja Decimator, thank you so much for the support. We've got some other ones through. Coco Cats was gifting some Red Team memberships and stuff like that. I see some questions too. I'm going to pause those for now. SA. Here's one from SA. Congrats on 1 million subs, you guys. Rock it out of the park. Thanks for all the work. Hope to meet you guys at a launch. Thanks, SA, for the support there too. So I'm gonna pause some of the other ones. I'll come back to them. But black holes, how do they work? Now we've got magnets in black holes. I don't know if they cancel out and they become easier to understand, or if it's like magnets, nobody knows how those work. Black holes, nobody knows how those work.
Yeah, it's just magic.
It's just all magic.
Work?
Sufficiently advanced, I guess not really technology, but at least science here at this point. So what are we talking about next here? Sort of jumping around. What do we got? Some Starship news that occurred? I'm scrolling.
Yeah, there was some static fires of good old Ship 29. 2 static fires. 2 times the fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, and also Booster 4 has been scrapped. It is no longer of this Earth. Well, I guess it's of this Earth still, but it's in pieces now. To shreds, you say.
To shreds, you say. I like it. We're like, there was a static fire, and then they're cutting up a booster in the Mega Bay here, so...
Yep, but no, it's really good to see 29 get static fire tested. It's yet another step towards Flight 4. Obviously, there's still a whole bunch of stuff that needs to happen before Flight 4 can happen, not least of which the conclusion of the SpaceX-led mishap investigation along with the FAA. So a lot of stuff to still happen, but SpaceX is rapidly advancing much faster in this case than we saw after Flight 2. So really good to see. So the first static fire was a 6-engine firing, looked really clean. I think it was like a 5-second-ish duration. You can see it there, looking real good. And then that was on Monday of the week, and then Tuesday, nothing, and then Wednesday, single-engine static. Same as Ship 26 and Ship 28 did to simulate that in-space burn of a Raptor engine. So is
that what they said? Like they put that on a tweet or something, that they were simulating an in-space burn or something? Is that the deorbit burn?
I don't know if SpaceX tweeted that. That's a good question. But the thing is the fueling timelines for that burn and the way that the ship is loaded and behaves for that burn is much different than a standard static fire, and it followed the exact same milestones and process that we saw with Ship 26 and Ship 28, which we did have confirmation from them that was a thing. Yeah, okay, they did tweet it. It says static fire of a single Raptor engine using the header tanks.
On
Flight 4 Starship. So they didn't say landing burn in this tweet, but it matches the other, not landing burn, the other in-space burn tweets and tests that we've seen them do. So pretty neat.
Yeah. And that was something they didn't get to in Flight 3. Because of the way Flight 3 was going and the loss of control, they didn't get to do their relight and their orbit-changing burn because, quite frankly, it was out of control at the time. It would not have been a good idea to do a burn to try to relight the engines because it could end up, who knows where it would have ended up, right? So continuing practicing those with the next flight candidate here, right, EJ?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they got to make sure, they got to verify that works. I mean, you were talking about a loss of control. There was clearly a roll rate on Starship when we saw it. I mean, that doesn't mean those on-orbit views weren't amazing, by the way. I still look at those. It's like, just looked those up cold turkey the other day. I'm like, yep, that's still cool. All right. Anyway, but like there was a roll rate on Starship, and that roll rate, it's not just about like careening off course, right? It's about settling the propellants in the tank. You have to have some kind of ullage or some kind of acceleration on the vehicle to be able to get all the propellants at the bottom of those header tanks, even with the header tanks. I mean, probably even more with the header tanks, right? Because, you know, you have that, they have that line that goes all the way down, all the way through the main fuel tanks, all the way down to the engines, right?
Yeah.
Think about it like, you know, for the people in chat, think about it like if you have, you know, you go get a soft drink from your favorite fast food place, and you're at the bottom, and, you know, you do the noise, you know, like that sippy noise. Like, rockets don't do that very well. You need liquid going into liquid fuel engines. So it wasn't just loss of control, like, but you're not going to be able to settle those propellants either. So it's probably better that they're verifying it. But I mean, I'm not, you know, it's good that they verify it for 29, but, you know, that could be a reason why 28 didn't do. It's not just, you know, it's just going to careen off and Jebediah Kerman itself somewhere off into space. You know,
nice.
Hey, that's a good adjective. You all know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't pretend like you don't.
Golf clap.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
I'll golf clap. I'll golf clap.
Exactly. All right. But you have to make sure those propellants are settled too. And I'm not sure they had that with the roll rate. Now, would a roll rate settle the propellants? Yeah, it might, but it would swirl the propellants too. Prop vortexing is not good, because then your propellant turns into a gyroscope, and, you know, angular momentum does its thing. That's not ideal. You don't want that.
So I wonder, like, I always, like, when I see announcements or anything like, oh, flight-like conditions, space-like conditions, you know, like when I see things like that, I'm always like, really? It's not in a vacuum. Like, how can you really say that? But they're really talking about, oh, we're going to use a single burn. It's going to be fueled in this way. It's going to consume fuel from here, I guess is the right way to say it. As close as you can get it without having a big vacuum chamber that you can fire rocket engines into, right?
It's like what Tim Crane at Intuitive Machines said. There's no test stand on Earth to be able to simulate cryogenic propellant burns in space. There's nothing like that exists.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, especially with SpaceX's rapid iterative prototyping, it's really just get it up there and let's go. Let's see what happens. You know, it's only a failure if we don't learn something from it.
Yeah. Make sure you can do it safely, right? But just try to get real say boots on the ground. It's not really boots on the ground data. It's empirical, experimental data, not theoretical or calculated or simulated or whatever, right? That's how SpaceX does things. So anyways, so we got the 2 static fires done, the 6-engine static fire and the 1-engine. I actually I had to press the button here and then look up at Starbase Live on our multi-view to see if the ship had rolled, because I was busy today, and it looks like the ship's all the way back in the barn now, huh?
You had to look to see if the ship was rolled, huh?
I did, I was like, wait a second.
You weren't out there with Sean and I until like 3 a.m.
I wasn't. I was not. I was looking up, and I was like, is the ship still there? I better make sure before I open my mouth.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a good roll. They basically started moving right at the start of the window. And it was a nice, beautiful night. We got some really great imagery. So members, if you have not checked the community tab lately, be sure you keep your eyes on that, because there's some really cool shots from both Sean and myself that have gone up. I did the thing where I took, this is like so on topic, I took a multi-image composite of the entire ship at like 600 millimeters from various angles, and then stitched the photos together. So not a real photo, it's a composite, but that lets you see like insane level of detail down to each and every single tile. So yeah, that was pretty nifty. I was in a really good mood after the roll last night, just because the night rolls can be really challenging from a photography perspective. You know, we don't have the light that you get from the sun, but for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it was the moon, maybe it was the amount of lights at the production site from the new Mega Bay, but the lighting and everything, it was beautiful rollback. And then they like parked the ship in front of the Mega Bay for a little bit while they worked on the counterweights on the SPMT, like they do. And every single time a border patrol or sheriff car drove by with their flashers, you would get those like sick reflections on the stainless steel, like blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, green. I don't know. We'll have a day. We'll have from the border patrol.
Okay.
But we'll have a video up tomorrow morning, a daily with all of the cool roll footage and whatnot in it. So definitely stay tuned for that. But
nice.
Yeah, Ship 29 back in the barn, ready to get buttoned up for flight. Hopefully here in the next month. I don't know.
Month? Question mark?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
I mean, I'd say we're a little ways out.
We gotta ask the question, of course. Like everyone, I'm looking at the question queue right here too. People want to know. People always want to know when flight 4, when next flight.
Excuse me, when hop?
Yeah, when hop. Whenhop.com. That's.
Do you know the website? I just renewed the website. We just paid for the web domain again.
Wait. What? Okay, all right. Typing noises.
Yeah,
you can go to whenhop.com. Like, don't spell it right. Do WENHOP.
This is also very on topic for today's show because that is like OG. That is like, I think, if not pre-SN8, right around SN8. In fact, I think it was pre-SN8, if I'm not mistaken. It happened sometime around 5 or 6, where Michael did a Michael and bought that domain.
Do you know how many domains we have though?
How many?
It's not just WinHop.
Oh yeah, he bought a lot of them. He's Michael.
There's like a bunch of Win domains. I don't even know. I know WinSoyuz is one, and I'm like, who has ever typed winsoyuz.com into a browser window to try and figure out when Soyuz is going to launch?
Wake up, babe. Brand new sentence just dropped.
A bit of a stretch, honestly. We just renewed them all, though. Like, we just paid for the domain registration renewals on all those. So,
yep. Didn't know about that. Now I know about that. Not upset.
There you go.
Not upset. No, we're
it's
good.
A thing.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty funny.
So the other part of it, right? At this point, if I'm not mistaken, we're 2 weeks out from Gwyn Shotwell saying about 6 weeks. Right? Wasn't there some commentary where Gwyn was saying like, oh yeah, we're hoping in about 6 weeks or something like that. And then even Elon, like what? Elon said, well, maybe it'll do 6 weeks. But we're 2 weeks into that. So potentially, is it 4 weeks until Starship might fly again?
I mean, you know, maybe. I mean, you can look at what Gwyn and Elon said, and that's fine. But, that might be right. It might not be right. I always say look at the hardware.
Yeah.
Look for the hardware. Are we anywhere near a Starship launching? Probably not. You know why? Because like you see that picture to my left, stage right. There's no booster on the pad. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say SpaceX couldn't move that thing out there really, really quickly, but that probably you kind of need that to do a flight test, right? Like, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence either. The booster isn't there, which means it's not ready. I mean, we know that, they're going to take the booster, they're going to put it on there, they're going to do static fire, they're going to do wet dress rehearsal. There's a bunch of steps that we've seen from the other flight tests, right? It's a bunch of steps. And one of those steps included putting the booster on the orbital launch mount. Like,
that's a whole thing.
Probably isn't news to anybody, but yeah, I mean, we're still a good ways out. You always look at the hardware. I mean, that applies to anybody. That applies to any. It's not just SpaceX. Anyone. Because anyone could say, Das, I mean, good and well. Anybody could say, oh, yeah, we're going to launch our payload to the moon in 6 months. All right, where's your payload?
All right.
What
you have hardware for us to look. Do y'all know we make decisions that way sometimes? Yep. So sometimes it's like, oh, what should we cover? What should we do a video on? What should we do a story on? And there are so many companies that have ideas and PowerPoints and renderings. And I'm sitting here in meetings like, I don't know, do they have hardware for us to see yet? Like, if we can't go and visit the hardware and walk around the factory floor and look at, like, that's a great rendering of the space station, but I don't think we're going to do a video on your rendering of the space station. I will take responsibility. I have shot down multiple videos because it's like, well, show us the hardware. I'd love to do something with this, but let us come crawl around your space station structure like it's a jungle gym or something, right?
Yeah, props to Bigelow for literally actually letting me do that.
That was a whole thing when you went out to R.I.P. Bigelow.
Yeah, R.I.P. Bigelow.
Oh,
but what we were just talking about with the booster not being ready to roll back out, One thing that is happening today, in fact, is those damaged booster QD flex hoses are being reinstalled on the orbital launch mount and on the booster QD. So they are hopefully getting into a, yeah, you can see them right there.
Yeah, there we go.
You can see them right there on the right-hand side.
Trailer 1.
Right below the chopsticks, there you can see one of the flex hoses already installed. So there you go. They are working towards getting the mount ready for the return of the booster, and I suspect that that is the long pole. So there you go. Neat.
Yeah, they tore the big insulated lines, those sort of bent lines that come out of the back. That's what carries all the consumables into the booster, the bottom of the booster, right? The QD plate attaches, blah, 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 right? But after Flight 3, we saw them doing a ton of work in there. There's a huge armored shroud that goes over the back of that whole assembly there and covers up those lines. And they took that huge armored shroud off, and they actually extracted some of those lines, especially the big ones. I wasn't really sure. Like, I didn't know if the line was broken or if it was just the insulation that was making us look at some weird angles. You ran around the backside and took some pictures, Jack. Was there a line that was actually disconnected?
Oh yeah, hang on.
Or was it just an insulation
Hang on,
thing?
let me grab a picture for old Kevy boy there. Hang on just a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Old Kevy boy? No one's ever called him that ever.
Old Kevy boy. He's our boy. We love him. We're proud dads. All three of us. It's a new sitcom on Fox every Tuesday. It's called Three Proud Dads.
I feel like the pipes are calling is the next line after "Oh Kevy boy," but whatever.
Here we go.
The pipes are calling.
I found the rockets. The tanks. I guess the tanks are calling.
The tanks are calling.
There you go, Kevin. It's in control center.
Oh no.
So it's hard to say. I didn't see them immediately after they removed the back of the BQD shroud. So it's hard to say. But if we get this image up. Let's give Kevin just a second to do it. If you take a look at it, there's a difference between the two flex hoses, and there's two large diameter hoses. I assume one is for oxygen and one is for methane. And look, what can you see here? You can see one hose down at the bottom of the hose. You can see it still has a flange on it, right, where it would attach to the GSE. The other hose does not have a flange attached to it, and in fact looks...
You can see the flange.
Yes, the flange is still attached to the OLM side. So did they just pull that off? Did it get liberated during launch? I don't know, because I wasn't there right after they removed the BQD and started messing with those hoses. But I do think the difference in the state of these two hoses, I mean, ideally you pull off the flange with the hose, I think. I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, but so maybe one was full-on damaged and dislodged in that way. This is like pure speculation, though, but those are the hoses we are talking about.
What do you think, EJ? You're the GSE guy. What do you think?
That's broken. Yeah, that's what I think. That's broken. So those lines, I mean, you can't see it because they have the insulators over it, that kind of space blanket stuff that's on the outside of that. But those lines are braided. It's a braided steel line. And the reason why they do that, amongst other reasons, is for thermal expansion and contraction. Like we always see the OLM vent, and we see them chilling down the lines whenever they're doing anything with commodities on the orbital launch mount. And if you look Kevin, bring us in a little bit closer. If you look at I
just put a closer image in Discord as well.
Oh yeah, there
Excellent.
we go.
Yeah, if you look at the metal part that's still attached to the flange, there's like a flared out part. At the very top of that, where it would connect into the hose, that's a press fit. So they press fit the braid into that metal collar right there.
Okay.
That's not supposed to be like that. Now, once again, whether that was the pad or whether that was anything else, I'm not sure. I mean, it's definitely not supposed to do that. I'll tell you that right now. From what I know about pressure lines, cryogenic pressure lines, it's definitely not supposed to do that.
You see their FOD control too? Look at their FOD control. They treat FOD control like I treat leftovers in my fridge. They've got like saran wrap over the top of it. It looks like space tape or something.
Hey, it's going to work, dude. Get it in some gaff tape.
If it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid.
I think some of it might be that aluminum like sealing tape or something, like literally almost duct tape.
It's like speed
like not
tape or something,
Yeah, not the gray duct tape, but the aluminum duct tape. But they've capped it off to keep FOD from getting in there, I guess, because if it gets in there, then you got to clean it back out again. You don't want to be pumping that into your rocket, right?
But yeah, just to take a second to appreciate the job that these two flex hoses have to do. They are loading 5,000 tons of propellant into this insanely large rocket in the course of like 50 minutes. And not only that, they're not fueling the tanks from the middle or the top, it's from the bottom of the tank. So as the weight of the propellant gets heavier and heavier, these hoses and all of those fittings have to resist that 5,000 tons of propellant, pushing back down on it. All the pumps in the tank farm, all of that. It's just like, yes, it's two hoses. Why do we care so much about two hoses? These are extremely critical pieces of hardware.
Really important.
And they have a pretty crazy job that they're being asked to do. So EJ, I didn't even know that they would be press fit like that, but given the pressures they have to deal with, that makes perfect sense. That's fascinating.
Well, the part that flexes is the part that's press fit. I mean, if they could go with a solid line here, they probably would. I mean, we know that Elon hates flanges,
but it has to move.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're dealing with thermal expansion and contraction, especially when they're slow filling the lines, chill them down, and then high flow is going to really freeze up some stuff for sure. So the flexi bit is press fit into the collar, which is attached to the flange, right? There's really not a good way to do that without the flexi hose. You need that because this thing is like physically going to change shape when you start high flowing propellants through it. We know that putting cryogenic commodities through any type of ground service equipment can change the things. How about on the Artemis 1 mission where they went into fast fill with the hydrogen on that core stage and it untorqued the bolt. The bolt just came unscrewed.
Yeah.
And they sent the guy out there with a torque wrench and he tightened that sucker right back down. It does change things.
Red team rolls up to the pad, gets on their radio, and is like, "Yeah, there, that's your problem there. That bolt's a little bit loose. I'm gonna tighten it."
Fix it.
I was making cranking motions there, but that's why you keep missing it. It's good. The joke's gone. It makes me want to go and look at connections for other quick disconnects and like the arms that swing away from the rockets, because Delta IV Heavy has tons of arms that swing away from the rockets, and it makes me want to look at the interface where you have the tower that doesn't move, right? And then you have the arm that swings back. How do other people do that interface? Do they have these flexible hoses like that where the hose is flexing? Do they have some sort of joint where the joint maybe rotates, but it's not a flexible thing, it's a hard fitting or something? I'm really curious how other rockets carry consumables like that and whether or not SpaceX's choice for these long flexible hoses that have to move when the entire QD moves away from the rocket. Like, I wonder if that's different than other rockets have done it. I haven't gone to check. I need to go look.
I think it's pretty standard.
It's usually a flex joint. You don't want to go reinventing the wheel. And if it's one thing we know from what I was saying before, cryogenics don't play well with valves. They really, really don't. And it doesn't really matter the rocket. Hypergulls don't either, for what it's worth. It's usually like the thing that's popping into my head that everybody might understand is like a car's exhaust has like flex bits in it. So because the exhaust gets hot, so it's going to expand and contract. This is the opposite of that, but you still have a flex bit. You still have flexi bits in there to deal with the expansion and contraction. Now, for the swing arms that are rotated, it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah.
Think like a proton pack, like Ghostbusters or something. Like, it can move around. It can swing back and forth, right? But also, even at the interface, like where the swing arm connects, there's another bit of flexi hose that's attached to the carrier umbilical as well.
I really want to go through there and look and see, like, is there a better way to do it? Or is it just, other people use that, but Starship is carrying so much propellant into such a huge tank because Starship is the world's biggest rocket, so you got to solve the world's biggest problems, right? I wonder if the materials and the design of those materials that support smaller, lesser rockets, right, like don't scale to Starship sizes. Like there's Delta IV Heavy going. I was going to say, I wonder those hoses that we were looking on the backside of the booster QD, when those have propellant in them, I wonder how much that length of hose weighs. How much do you think that weighs? I have no clue.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's like, so I mean, you got to think about it. Like every time one of those hoses detaches, it's like it's like if you're trying to wind up a garden hose and it still has water in it, it's just the propellants go everywhere. This is why, like Falcon 9, for instance, does that vent, the ground gas closeout, to avoid that exact problem, because you don't want to spray oxidizer all over your rocket. On the outside. It's probably not good for it. I mean, rockets like Delta IV, they don't care, but that's for hydrogen purging. It's a little bit of a different reason.
They do that on purpose.
Yeah, it's done on purpose. It's very, very much a thing that was implemented. But yeah, I mean, there's purging out systems and stuff. You usually don't disconnect an umbilical that's full of propellant, because you'll fire hose the rocket with propellant on the outside.
Generally a bad thing.
I mean, I don't know if you guys knew this. The propellants need to be inside, not outside. That's not good. Not good for.
Well, they need to be inside until they need to be outside. Like you need them to be able to go from inside to outside at some point. It needs to be in a very controlled manner that they're going from the inside to the outside, not in an uncontrolled manner. So,
yeah, exactly. You want it to explode in one location, and the explosion needs to be going in one direction. If it's going in multiple directions, you got a little bit of a problem there.
Well, it wants to go in multiple directions. The entire job of the engine bell in the atmosphere is to make it go in a specific direction. We could do an entire show on that.
In one direction.
Anyways, folks, I'm going through super chats and stuff like that, sort of in between the major topics. We're going to hit some more questions about Starship's status, and then we will say thanks to some support, and then we will go on to our next topic here. So let me see if we don't have some questions about Starship. I mean, we were just talking about what is this?
You don't remember?
Well, I drew it, but are we supposed to talk about this now?
It's SN5.
Or what?
It's a highly advanced simulation of SN5's historic fight.
It's even got an exclamation point because it was super excited about the fact that it hopped. Let me look at some questions in chat here real quick. And Jack, we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's why I put it in there. From Luke?
Static fire, yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk about static fires. Is this the last static fire we see from the Starship suborbital pad, or are they going to be moving these static fires to Massey's in the future? Where do you think we are with that from your ground experience out there?
Well, they are moving static fires for the ship, specifically the ship, not the booster, to Massey's. That has been in work for some time now. Whether or not this will be the last static fires we've seen at Pad B, I don't know. It could very well be the final static fires for Pad B. It could also be the case that the static fire stand at Massey's takes longer to get up and running. Frankly, I have no idea what their timelines for Massey's are. And put it this way: do you think for Flight 4 they will static fire Ship 30?
Maybe just to show off.
Yeah. And so if they do, I think that happens at the launch site. If they don't, I think by the time Flight 4 is done, we have a pretty high likelihood of the static fire stand at Massey's being ready. That said, I have no freaking clue. Again, their timelines on the static fire stand at Massey's. So it could be another 6 months. Who knows? I have no idea. But that's sort of my thinking about it, because I was just saying last night, like, oh man, I'm really bummed we don't get more static fires from Pad B, because Pad B is a great spot to see static fires. It's just it's right there. There's not a lot of obstruction. So,
Time out.
Yeah.
Why is the NSF's camera site not listed in this this overhead view? That's our site right there on the side of the road. You can see the gravel pad we have installed. It didn't get labeled. Ryan needs to put NSF highway site there.
How dare you, Ryan?
I assume we're looking at this because there's the new land. There's the suborbital pad where they were just doing the firing. But they built a parking lot back in there. The parking lot lasted like a month before they tore it out, right? Yep. But that's where the static fires are happening, on the suborbital side of the pad there. That suborbital side is become what seems to be Tower 2, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's classic SpaceX fashion to build a piece of infrastructure and then literally immediately tear it up and
rip it back out again.
Put something else there. So it fits the trend. You know, we're on brand here for SpaceX. But
I actually, dude, yeah, it is on brand. Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing that. I actually really appreciate that SpaceX is just like, yeah, build a parking lot there. We need a parking lot. Oh, no, never mind. Rocket launch pad now. I appreciate how their workspaces is like a blackboard. They're not afraid to just erase the whole thing and just, start over.
Yeah.
I actually think that's super cool. It helps us illustrate the process. Like, you can really get into, like, it's really makes it a lot easier for us to digest what the heck SpaceX is doing, especially if you're a tank watcher, right? You can really think about this stuff and think like, oh, okay, suborbital pad A, they scrapped that, right? And then you see all the components going over to Massey's, right? And now say pad B, like, and now they want a second tower because we see the tower segments at Sanchez. Like, it's actually, I think it's super useful to see SpaceX's process like kind of out in the open. It really gives you a good finger on the pulse, and you can really kind of understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not trying to hate on it. I think it's it's pretty nifty. It's like the kind of thing where corporations can be so. There's a lot of momentum in corporate anything, in any business. It's hard to move fast and break things, and that's part of the reason why we love SpaceX, is because they do have still that ability to be like, you know what? No more HPUs. Or, you know what? Now there's chines. Now there's hot staging. Now it's not a parking lot anymore. It's an orbital launch pad. So, yeah, that's why we love them.
Yeah. It's curious. Cool. Like, can you imagine if a government agency worked that way? Right? You would all be so up in arms about how they were wasting your taxpayer dollars. They're poorly managed. They're poorly planned. They have no clue what they're doing. They paid to build a parking lot there, and then they tore it back out, and then they're going to put lunch. Can you imagine if another organization was doing that same sort of thing and how people would be up in arms? But because SpaceX gets results with working that way, I think they have a pretty good track record of getting results. Like the mentality when SpaceX does things like that versus almost anybody else that would do that other than a small new space company, right? SpaceX can do that because they've proven they can get results that way. Like, agree or disagree with that statement?
Agree.
Oh, very much agree. Hold up. Let SpaceX cook.
Yeah, let SpaceX cook.
Let them do their thing. Trust me.
Yeah. It's just... God, like, imagine anybody else working that way and how everybody would be up in arms about how terrible the management is and the lack of planning and all this sort of stuff. And we're like, yeah, tear out the parking lot, put a launch pad there. Like, we're cheering them on when they do
Build another one.
Yeah.
There's a story about palm trees they've installed on a road at Starbase, too.
Fill it up again.
Fill it up again.
But for real, and that said, I'm not gonna say there's nothing wrong with other development styles. Every development style has its merit. I'm not a software person, but there's Agile and Waterfall or whatever. There's different kinds of software development or project management. Like Vulcan, perfect example. Vulcan flew great on its first try. Yeah, it took a little bit of time to get done, but ULA nailed it on their first try. Completely different approach to developing a rocket. But a valid one. So, everything has its place. I think from the perspective of a Texas tank watcher, though, I'm glad that we have plenty of action and plenty of changes rapidly happening so that we can constantly try and read the tea leaves and divine what the actual heck we're looking at any given point in time.
Yep.
Tea leaves.
Tea leaves. What? I think we could talk about tea. We're going to talk about tea in a little bit when we have a special guest come on. And how iced tea with sugar in it is the best type of tea ever. I'm kidding. We're probably all fired now. The last thing I want to talk about real quick, just me.
Just happened.
I want to see, and I don't know if this would ever be a thing. I don't even know if it's possible to do on the ground. But I wonder if it's possible for SpaceX to do a flight-like engine turnaround, like a relight on the stand. Right? Like, could they light all 6 engines and you're not going to do a full duration static fire because they don't have the infrastructure to deal with the thrust for that long, right? But you light all 6 engines and then you go back and then you recycle in the appropriate amount of time as if you were going to do an orbit burn. You're not allowed to get anything else off the ground, off the GSE. I don't even know if you're disconnected from the GSE, if that's even possible. And then could you turn back around and fire the Starship again to make sure that all those systems are working the way that they should? Do you think that's something they can do?
Yes. In fact, they have done it. Maybe not
I was gonna say.
in exactly that way.
Right.
But with SN9, they fired, I think, 3 static fires in a single day. It's rare that they do multiple static fires in a single day, but they have done it. That said, I do wonder if whatever process would be necessary in between the 6-engine static fire and the 1-engine static fire on the same day, notionally, like to detank the ship and get it into a condition that approximates what it would be doing with a single-engine static fire in terms of propellant load, pressures, temperatures, all of that. I do wonder if whatever it takes to go from 6-engine to 1-engine sort of negates some useful test data based on how they have to get there, and that's why they do it as 2 separate tests. But I am so not a rocket scientist, and I can see EJ making squinty eyes at me right now. So I'm going to stop talking.
No.
And let EJ.
No, you're absolutely right. What? I'm sorry. I think out loud, I guess.
You think with your face.
Yeah. Jeez. What were we talking about? Rails? Anyway,
Moontrain.
We were talking about relights, engine relights on the stand.
You talked about SN9, but that wasn't the first thing that popped into my head. Back a little while ago on McGregor Live, we saw them instantly relight a Raptor engine. And now I get it. Raptor isn't the entirety of Starship, Dawson. I know that's what you're talking about, but I mean, it's very clear that they could just shut Raptor off and turn it right back on. We saw them do it in like a 10-second interval, like full thrust, off, 10 seconds, back on. Back on
again. Yep. I don't
know what they're doing to do that. Like freewheeling a pre-burner or something. Like, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, they can clearly just flip this thing on and turn it back off again. You're going to run into other problems if you try to do that with a Starship, like, I don't know, hydraulic hammering or like a siphon.
You said
causing cavitation in the tanks or something. But I mean, yeah, it's very clear that they could do that, which is insane considering it's staged combustion cycle, full flow, and you can just flip it on and flip it back off. Yeah, all right, whatever.
You said freewheeling a turbo pump, and I immediately thought, Ghost Ride the turbo pump. I don't know why.
Ghost Ride the dude.
Ride the turbo pump?
I was thinking about what they were trying to do. Like, how could you get that thing to do that? And keep in mind, this is EJ's wild theories. Like, that's the only thing that I could think of. Like, they're doing something maybe with the pressure, autogenous pressurization to keep the turbo pumps freewheeling, right? And then they flip the engine right back on, right? Because an engine's got a spool. No matter if you're using open cycle, closed cycle, full flow, staged, or just a gas generator, you still have to spool the turbines in there. The turbo pumps or pre-burners, you still have to spool the power heads. So you can't just flip an engine off and flip it back on. You're going to get turbo lag.
There's moving parts that have to get up to speed, and we see that. Like, everybody's like, oh, a spin prime, who cares, right? Well, the spin prime is super important. Like, all of the things that need to happen to get to a spin prime flowing prop with all of the moving parts through the engine, like, there's a reason they practice doing that, right? It's not like a light switch where you just turn your switch on and off, and the engine lights and doesn't light. That's how the Apollo engines, that's how the CFM engines worked. On the Apollo CSM, you could just turn on and off like a switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they didn't have any pumps or anything.
It's
right?
just those are straight pressure-fed hypergolics. Yeah, you could just flip it on. I mean, even like RCS is usually modulated on spacecraft. They don't ever just hold down the H key.
It's like duty cycle, basically.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Like that's how it fires.
Yep, they modulate them. Mm-hmm,
could y'all hear that?
I could. Yeah.
Oh, we heard it.
Oh yeah,
we heard it. Should make that noise again.
It's really that way though.
You're really good at it. You're remarkably good at it. I gotta say,
it's an artifact of being able to roll your R's. I guess
I can't do it. I still can't do it. I can't.
You're in Brownsville. You should be able to roll your R's.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, amigo. You cannot roll your R's?
Not really. I can sometimes, but.
Oh, okay, Puss in Boots from Shrek.
Hey. I can roll the R's. Don't be jealous because I am not near Texas, but I can roll them like crazy.
There you go. We still have lots of stuff to talk about. I need to say thanks to some people here too. So Rails, everybody Rails, back in the lanes here. Let's say thanks to some more people. I think we got those. Wilbo Tiberius Baggins.
Good old Wilbo.
That's a name for you. Good old Wilbo. Did a 20 Curly L super chat after the scrub yesterday. You guys hit 1 million. That's true. Delta Force, truly Scrubs paying the bills there.
Jazz hands.
Delta Force scrubbing.
Jazz hands for 1 million. Jazz hands for 1 million. Come on, do it. Peer pressure. Jazz hands for 1 million. Come on, do it. Jazz hands.
No, not gonna happen.
All right, I gotta go.
Okay, bye, Jack. Thanks. So y'all chat about it. Listening to you was enlightening, moving, and uplifting. Hot coals, broken glass. This was your quote, Jack, actually. Jack's left. Jack might be crawling across hot clothes to set a camera for a live stream right now.
I'd do
he
it.
might have gone to the bathroom.
I would do it.
Do it! I knew that would get him back. Hot coals, broken glass, not for me, but I'll wear a kilt. You inspire so many, Wilbo. Oh, Jack.
Well said.
The real question is, would you crawl across hot coals made of broken glass while wearing a kilt?
You know what? I'll think about it.
I'll think about it. Drum roll, please.
No.
Wilbo, Tiberius Baggins, thank you so much for the support. That actually came in 50 minutes ago, 50 minutes ago. By the way, SpaceX, can we put a no parking zone where this lift, United Rentals lift, is parked there? Like, we had our cameras all set, Jack?
You know what I did, Das? This is my slow-mo shot of the 6 engine. A second ago, we were looking at my slow-mo of the 1 engine. What I did is immediately after that 6 engine test, I went on Amazon and ordered some 12-foot USB A to C cables so I can put my camera
put it up on the pole
further away to get out of the way of the lift. Because, oh, God. Yeah. And okay. Now let's get really into the weeds here.
Sure.
And this is
important. This is behind the scenes.
This is the kind of thing that member support allows us to do, is to have this infrastructure at the trailer to allow me to remotely operate a slow-mo camera. So that's awesome. But here's why I have a smooth brain and I don't have a wrinkle brain. For the 6 engine static fire, I shot the close-up that you were just looking at. Close-up good. Shows engine start. Yes.
I'm looking for the close-up.
But for the 6 engine static fire, they loaded basically a full tank, I think, of liquid oxygen, which meant that when the very dusty from all the mid-bay demo dust ship 29 fired its engines, a whole bunch of dust and ice and condensation came off the ship, and it was beautiful. So for the 6 engine, I shot a very tight close-up and then a GoPro shot that's way too wide to see the detail in the cool condensation slow-mo. For the single engine static fire, I was mad at myself for that decision, and so I said, all right, for the single, I'm going to shoot a wide. But guess what? For the single, they don't load anywhere near as much liquid oxygen, and most of the dust from the mid-bay demo has already been shaken off the vehicle. So while this shot is cool, it would have been way cooler as a much more I should have reversed. I should have reversed the shots. This should have been the close-up. The other one should have been wide. I have a smooth brain. There you go. There's your behind the scenes.
My phone has a camera.
My phone has a camera. You can take pictures with it. You can even stream with your phone camera, EJ. We should talk sometimes.
Yeah.
I bet you're an Android person. You're an Android person, aren't you?
No.
Oh, good. We're friends.
Still
friends. Hey, you know what, Gus? Hey. Unity Intercom works great on my phone.
I'm sorry. That's not a good thing to be shackled to Unity Intercom. Hey, let me keep saying thanks to some folks here, y'all. SA, I think I got this one earlier. Congrats on 1 million subs. Yeah, I think I got that one earlier. Musical Wolves did a super chat 39 minutes ago now. 5 years ago was Hoppy at doing a static fire. We were going to talk about that.
Hopper.
Hang 10.
Hopper.
Hang 5.
Hopper.
It says Hoppy in the super chat, though.
Yeah, it's Hopper, though.
Well, Jack, if you want me to say Hopper, you can super chat, and then I'll read your super chat.
Stand by.
Hopper chat.
Stand by.
Oh, geez. There's a question for you here, Jack, after you do a super chat, I think. Let me go to some other ones. Hey, Jack.
Yep.
This is for you.
What's up?
Do you record video on your R5 or just photos? I changed to dedicated video cameras for video from DSLR due to the overheating Sony A7 to FX30. That's from Steve Kajevic.
This is a great question.
Is that a good question?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, we were just talking about the slow-mo shots. Those were shot with an R5, 4K 120 in Canon log. And this is almost secret sauce. It's not. My procedure for successfully getting slow-mo off of a R5 that's been sitting out in the sun and baking for like 12 hours is to leave it in photo mode, and then right before the static fire, when you hear me freaking out on stream about operating the camera, that is me switching it from photo mode into video mode, only for the duration necessary to absolutely avoid overheating. But yeah, I understand why Steve did this. I think the R5 is a fantastic video camera. I do wish it had, this really revolutionary, brand new, never before seen on this planet technology called a fan. But Canon actually makes an R5C, which is a R5 cinema camera, and that has a fan, but it's also like $2,000 more. And then also you get into like weather sealing and water ingress and blah, blah, blah. So yes, the overheating is lame, but in practice, even when I'm shooting 4K a lot, I don't ever hit overheating unless I'm shooting 4K 120, and I'm basically limited by card space and desire to not have terabytes of data before I get to a point where it'll overheat from 4K 120, although it has happened.
It's overheated?
Oh yeah. I mean, you remember. It's overheated for it's overheated for Virgin Galactic, it's overheated for Starship streams, it's overheated for yeah, it happens. But you learn to manage basically, and there are rumors of an R5 Mark II coming out, and you better believe my wallet is already sad.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to keep speed running something. I think that was a great question, Jack. Thanks for answering the details there. I was going to make a snide remark about, yes, and with all of this, you can get fantastic slow motion shots of the back of a United Rentals lift.
You know what? Okay. The other thing
SpaceX.
The other thing is I almost didn't set the shot because it looked so garbage because of that lift. But I told myself,
silly lift.
I had the better angel and the evil angel on your shoulder. The evil DOS on my shoulder was like, nah, it's a terrible shot. Don't even bother. The DOS angel with the little halo and the harp on my shoulder was like, ground truth. We need to test these things so that when a launch comes, we have practice and we know that it works. And so I set the shot anyways, even though it was largely garbo because of that stupid lift. Anyways,
that's okay.
Anyways,
the practice and the experience. I've been harping on this, and what did I say? There we were in a meeting, and I was like, I don't know, we should deploy the camera because it's Tuesday. Like, not because there's a special event happening or whatever, but we do need to spend more time practicing with our equipment because we're out there every single day. Like, we're always at Starbase doing stuff. So. Anyways, let me say thanks to some more people here. Jack, go.
No, Alex in the back channel says, today we learned Jack's voices of reason are two different versions of DOS. Yeah, I mean, you know me, Alex. I don't have a voice of reason. I have a voice of chaos. It's Adrian. It's Adrian. Both of your names are yellow. Both of your names are yellow, and they start with A, and I already established that I have a smooth brain. What more do you want from me?
Oh, no.
Doing my best.
All right. More super chats. We got that one. Yeah, I can't make that one go away, but whatever. Gambler93 did a tip over at tips.nssspacelight.com. Is it bad that I say that every time? Like, I'm tips.nssspacelight.com to tell you how they did this tip. Gambler did a $100 tip. Where'd it go? Oh, somebody clicked it. There it went. Says, congrats on the 1 million subs. Also wanted to thank you guys for the years of amazing coverage. Watching your coverage of Falcon 9 launches and the Starship hops in Boca was something that gave my mom lots of joy the last couple of years of her life. Will always be a fan and supporter. Gambler, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for sharing it with your friends and family and loved ones, especially if that was a way that you got to spend very important quality time with your mom there. So thank you so much for making it so we can keep doing this. And thanks for sharing it with your friends and family and loved ones.
Always love hearing comments like that. It means the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It really is. It's like, y'all know we say it over and over again, but you don't have to do tips. You don't have to do super chats or be a member or anything like that. Like, just being here and sharing these sorts of things and our wacky conversations. I know sometimes they're a little wacky.
Wild and crazy
these two guys over here, yeah, pointing at them. Just thank y'all for being a part of it. Like, everybody that shows up to these shows is part of the community. We can't say it enough. Just a few more. Bideford has one here. $250 super chat. Doing this on my cell phone.
How did you pronounce their name?
Bideford?
Hey, you said Bideford. I was like, what?
Bideford? Yeah, I think I might have said Bideford.
We're adding in syllables, but they're
Bideford.
They're great. They're great. So I mean, heck, more syllables, more better.
Bideford. How's that? Says, doing this on my cell phone. It messed up my comment. So Reader's Digest version is congratulations to the best rocket and space channel ever, NSF. 3 of my favorite hosts ever. Bideford. Either way you like it. Thank you so much for the support and the kind words. Right?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Else is talking.
No, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm yelling at people in chat about Hoppy.
No.
And by people, I mean Jerwa. Hi, Jerwa.
Hey, gonna speed run some here. Blake Alexander gifting Red Team memberships. Let's do all the gifts. Wilbo Tiberius Baggins. Oh, no. I did this.
Okay.
It's my fault.
keep going. Keep going. Keep it going.
Here's John Depker did a super chat, says, cheers to y'all's 5 years and 1 million subs. I'll be here as long as y'all are. In for the, who is clicking them? In for the long haul. There we go. I can find it when it moves. Thank you so much. We see John's name in there as well. And then this happened, apparently. Musical Wolf said, cake in the shape of Hopper in Win Hop Fund. Happy 5-year anniversary. Thanks. Where'd it go? There it is. Musical Wolves. And then we got Jack.
Don't do it.
Got Jack.
Don't do it.
Who says Hopper? Jack just says Hopper.
Hopper.
That's what the chat
That's
says.
the proper name.
Hopper. Somebody clicked that one, little green check mark next to it. And then, of course, Eric Spittle topped that $5 instead of $2 and said Hoppy.
Hopper.
Well, you didn't super chat again. You don't get to say that again. Eric Frazier also said Hop. Oh, here we go. It's like just giving YouTube money. Use tips.nasaspaceflight.com instead, Jack.
Okay, hang on. Stand by.
We got some more gift memberships here as well. Steve, I got that one in there, I think. 5 red team memberships. Blake Alexander gifted some. Wilbo Tiberius Baggins gifted some. And then Jerwa, the voice of reason, trying to bring harmony in not discord, peace to the stream, says, let's compromise Star Hoppy. Jack, do you allow Star Hoppy?
No, that's what I was yelling at Jerwa in Discord about. No.
Still not a thing.
Not acceptable.
Okay. All right.
We gotta get Apple Pay on tips.nasaspaceflight.com. I would have already paid by now, but I have to type in my credit card info.
Is that a thing we could do?
Probably.
I have to talk to the store people about that. Anyways, where are we? Oh, John did another $2 saying Hopper with 3 exclamation points as well. That's the thing.
Good man.
But anyways, where are we at?
Goss, you've moved on to questions already. I hear that you've moved on to questions already, which means you want to continue, but there is a question that we ask every single time we talk about Starship.
Does anybody know if the viewers can hear Kevin? Can the viewers hear Kevin?
It appears that they can.
Chat, tell us if you can hear Kevin. I'm like sitting here like, can they hear him?
Oh, they can.
Does anybody know what this is?
I do. I do, because I'm pretty sure in the scrum, whatever you want to call it, in the hustle to set up for a Starship flight, somebody, maybe named Das, hit me up and was like, "Hey, can you put this sign up in front of one of our cameras?"
Can you go? It started with, "Can you go to town and get this from the printer?" I think.
Yes.
And Mary was involved in there too. This was like an old, dare I say, failed merch design that we did. Can anyone translate these hieroglyphics that used to be available on a T-shirt?
When orbit.
Now there's more to it. When orbit what?
Starship.
Yes, that's the last part of it there. Do y'all know where this is from? Does anybody know? Nobody's ever going to guess this because it's so terrible and esoteric. There is not a single person in chat that will know what I was thinking when I thought this was a good idea. Spoilers, it wasn't a great idea.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I have no idea.
Anybody? Like, I'm literally going to sit on this for a second. Nope. Anybody? I'm reading chat. This is me reading chat today. No, these were not on the golden record on Voyager.
That's amazing.
That's good.
I remember the sign.
Also, was it Pioneer or was it Voyager?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Golden record wise,
guys.
What? Do your thing. Whatever. I'm still seeing if chat knows what this is from. Nobody knows what this is from.
I made EJ mad.
It's not 2001.
I'm sorry, EJ.
Bro.
It's not. It's the Flight 4 patch. Somebody said it's the Flight 4 patch. Now, maybe. I mean, that center one might be okay. The backstory on this wacky design, there's an episode of Stargate SG-1 where they get captured by an ancient fish person who's speaking Babylonian and makes Daniel Jackson translate a bunch of stuff, and I had just watched that episode. And so what was in the back of my mind was this fish person in Stargate SG-1 asking Daniel Jackson over and over again in broken English, "What fate Amaroka?" And that's the only thing they could say until they learn more English, right? And so I'm over here, I must have been taking a shower or something like that. And I'm like, oh, we should do it the secret symbol that says Wind Orbit Starship. Wind Orbit Starship. And I thought this was such a great idea. It wasn't a great idea. It was a bad idea, y'all.
All I'm hearing is that this episode of Stargate was a second-tier version of Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
It wasn't one of the better episodes. It was some like super low budget practical effects like smoke and dry ice bubbling in water and stuff like that.
It's like when the X-Files does like the Creature of the Week episode. It's like, okay, fine.
Okay. I guess you got it. Does anybody even remember that episode? Like Adrian over here is like screaming, not that episode. Oh, it's almost as bad as that episode with the Furlings. Anyways, what are we supposed to be doing next? Kevin, was Kevin reading us like into something here? We've talked about the 4-week thing. Are we moving into another topic of discussion?
He wants to know when we think Starship's going to launch, because that's the question we always talk about when we talk about Starship.
When Starship orbit. That's the question.
End of May. Moving on.
Now, wait a second. Wait a second now.
Orbit? Orbit, end of May?
Yeah. Orbit. Because...
Orbit.
Jack, you're getting interesting timelines again. Windows.
Dude, you look like Jordy LaForge.
He looks like Jordy LaForge.
If only I had that much Riz.
The Flight 3 didn't do the engine relight, proving that they could bring Starship down within the deorbit zone, right? It was out of control. Maybe they couldn't get propellant to the engines. By these powers combined, they did not do the engine relight. So before Starship is able to go into an orbit, like an actual orbit, do they have to demonstrate mastery of that relight? Here comes Jack. Do they have to demonstrate mastery of that engine relight and deorbit into a known target area after an intentional trajectory change before they're allowed to burn all the way to put Starship in an orbit? So, is the next launch going to be going into orbit or not? Jack says not. EJ, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the next one's going to go into orbit. Now, keep in mind, that trajectory that has Starship come down over the Indian Ocean, that's like 99% of the way there.
Yep.
That's like maybe the difference between firing the engines for like an extra 5 seconds. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure if it's so much like iteration, like, they got to make sure that it can deorbit before it comes down. The insertion orbit for Starship, at least, I think the apogee on IFT-3 was like 235 kilometers. That's, even if you're circular at 235, that's a huge decaying orbit. That's not staying up there for very long, no matter what, unless you have some type of propulsion, right? I'm not necessarily sure that's a requisite, to be honest.
Okay.
I think this trajectory is more the reason why they've chosen this trajectory is that it's just coming down, not flying over more populated areas. The trajectory that would belly flop out near Hawaii in the Pacific testing range, that flies over Indonesia, it flies over the Philippines. Those are populated areas, and if Starship breaks up during reentry, you really don't want that coming down over a populated area. And also
uncontrolled,
South China Sea is a huge shipping lane. You don't want to go and break a container ship.
Yeah, drop a Starship on a container ship.
Yeah,
I do not think that they will fire the engines to put Starship into anything beyond a suborbital ballistic trajectory until they determine what caused the loss of control and prove that they're able to relight those engines in space after they're there so that they can bring Starship down in a controlled thing. Because even it's a small difference, right? It's a small difference between where they were going and what an orbit would have been, right? But you absolutely cannot get Starship in orbit where it's going more than one time around the Earth and have it be tumbling out of control the way that it was with no ability to regain that control. So we need to see why it tumbled. Specifically, like somebody explain to us what the findings are, why that thing tumbled, and then prove that they can keep it from tumbling next time and relight the engine so that they can control the descent exactly into a place where you're not going to crash on somebody's house or a container ship. I think were the two things you put up. Dude,
I think another poignant thought here, and you guys, if I'm pulling this out of my tail, you let me know. Das, I think you might be onto something there. And I also think that even if Starship's attitude was correct during that reentry for IFT-3, I don't think much is making it through that reentry, even with the thermal protection system. I kind of want to point out that the trajectory that IFT-3 took was an insanely steep reentry trajectory. I don't think much could get through on that trajectory. You know, like even if Starship was flying perfectly and they had perfect attitude control, I still think that it probably, probably wouldn't have made it. Even Elon said for Flight 4, they're just aiming to get past peak heating. Because that reentry trajectory for anything that you want to come back is very, very, very steep.
So what are they doing there, though? Like, what are they doing? Certainly, they're not setting themselves up for failure, right? But are they, like, testing the extents? Like, if we can get through this crazy aggressive trajectory, then we're cool in less aggressive, more normal trajectories. Do you think that's what they're doing?
It would be a good way to stress test that system. If you can make it through on that, that trajectory, it'll definitely survive something else. I mean, it's also possible that they want to really... I mean, what's your, like, okay, Starship's supposed to come back from high orbits. It's supposed to, come back from Mars. So a trans-Earth injection trajectory from Mars is, you're going to see some pretty high temperatures there. You're going to hit the atmosphere really, really fast. And it's going to generate a lot of heat, even on a shallow trajectory. So my guess is that they're figuring out what the duty cycle is on those tiles, like how much you can take before it'll really like break. I mean, it's good data to have, but also I think you might be onto something. They want to be absolutely sure that no matter what happens, if this thing breaks up, that it's going to no one's ever going to find any pieces of it, albeit from breaking up during reentry or coming down in an unpopulated area.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good point. I think you might be onto something.
I miss Jack, by the way. Like, where's Jack? It's like me and EJ hanging out. I miss Jack.
Of max heating that they would reach on a more benign trajectory sooner, so that when they do lose the ship, they still have the data that they would have gotten from a more benign. Does that make sense? Like,
is Jack muted right now?
Am I muted?
Is everything fine? I heard Jack, but some people in chat were saying muted.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think we're good, right?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, we're good. Just keep going. Yeah, you're fine now, Jack. Sorry.
Apparently, I'm breathing into my mic, so maybe Kevin is zealously muting me because nobody wants to hear that.
You are quite the heavy breather.
You like bring it over here off the side instead of putting it all the way in front like that. Like,
I was muted for a second.
I'm jazzed up today. I'm all jazzed and breathing heavy. I'm
jazzed
sorry.
Up. Nice.
There you go.
It's the jazz hands.
Jazz hands. I got you.
Now you do. Thank you.
Yeah, no, not when you need it though.
Yeah, well,
not when you need it.
Story of my
life.
He's
not your monkey. He's not your dancing monkey.
That's right, man.
You know something? One more comment on the trajectory, because I know we have more things to talk about. The steeper trajectory, and I'm not an orbitologist either, or a reentryologist or anything like that.
You said
but
you were.
I wonder what? It doesn't say that in the description, does it? Oh, somebody's going to go into the description. I wonder if the more aggressive trajectory also decreases the uncertainty ellipse of where you may come down. Like if you're coming in really shallow, you have more time that you're acting, and I wonder if that makes it a wider area where you might come down, and if you come in a little bit more steep, then that sort of narrows the size of the potential areas that you might come down in, because you're coming in like through the atmosphere different, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, you're coming in on a steeper trajectory, you're going to be more precise. There's a reason. We'll call them canned heat kinetic energy experiments.
Yep.
Or something. There's a reason why they fly on steep trajectories.
Yeah, makes sense. What was that tweet? I was supposed to read a tweet that came up, and I didn't read the tweet. What was that tweet again? Here we go. Here's a zoom into low orbits. A recent flight of interest is plotted with a cross. To be considered orbital, you for sure need to be above the red line, really above the green line, and it would be nice to be at the blue line. So is there a graphic that goes with this? Okay.
Look at this graph.
Stop.
Sorry.
Nice.
Stop it.
Oh, no.
No.
So showing that ship 28 was for the apogee that it reached. So 20, what are the units there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Those are 20, so like 235-ish, right? You have to be for sure above the red line. should be above the green line and hopefully above the blue line, which would be a circular orbit. And Ship 28 wasn't near any of those things. I'm not sure how this ties into the conversation we were having, but graphs.
Let me take
We
a
were
look.
talking about whether or not they're going to orbit on Flight 4. Flight 4 is doing the same trajectory as Flight 3. Ship 28 is not above the red line, so I think if we're treating Mr. McDowell as the orbit police that he truly is, then we can objectively say not orbit. Although that X is relatively close to the red line. I mean, it's not above it, but it's close.
Well, but that's a zero perigee. That's like perigee that intersects the surface of the Earth at datum altitude, like it's sea level, right?
Got it.
So perigee equal or below zero. If it goes into the negative, that's a suborbital trajectory. That's basically what this says. Those lines are the marks where the periapsis would be zero. So about the high, like that's basically the closest you can get to orbiting without orbiting, unless you're at escape velocity, right?
Yeah.
And then the middle line is 60 kilometer perigee, and then the blue would be circular. So that would be peri equals APO. So perigee equals apogee, meaning zero eccentricity.
Yep.
Perfect circular orbit.
Eccentricity, I like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. That's it's orbital mechanics, man. Learned it from Jonathan McDowell. He's the orbital police.
He is the orbital police.
Oh crap! The orbital police is here. Be cool. Everybody, be cool.
Be cool. Here come the space cops. Here come the space cops.
Long story short, I think we all agree that Ship 28 didn't go into orbit, but it's not very far. That was a YouTube comment that I dealt with. I say dealt with, like I respond to comments a lot of the times, and I'll put my little name after it /DOS or whatever. But somebody was like, "It's so embarrassing that you're so excited that it did this and it didn't even make orbit." And I was like, here's why this is exciting. Here's why it's okay for us to be excited about this. The difference between that and orbit is like this much. It's not very much. And the reason it didn't go orbital, I'm positive they could have put Starship into orbit on the last launch.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, it wouldn't have been safe to do so because they hadn't demonstrated they can maintain control of Starship once it was in orbit. Because the absolute thing that you cannot do is have a Starship that's out of control in a low, rapidly decaying orbit, and it becomes deorbit roulette. Who knows where it's going to come down? Right? That's the thing you can't do.
There were other boosters that have done that with core stages in the past, and it's never ended badly, but it's almost ended badly.
Yet it could one day.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's why we were so excited about that, because it's so close. Like they could have put that ship into orbit this time, and they did not because they need to demonstrate that they can safely control the ship, like retain control of the ship. So, anyways, will the next flight?
My question there is, does one in space burn? So that's successful. Does that mean that they can? Oh, we lost DOS.
No, I was splitting my water. I have these little magnetic molecules that I play with when I'm sitting at my desk, and I.
Nice.
What molecule is that?
It's water.
EJ, it's an H2O.
Yeah. Okay. Dihydrogen monoxide.
Hold up. EJ.
All right. That's methane.
What did you say?
I don't know.
That's methane.
Yes, it's methane. It's a carbon and 4.
CH4, man.
CH4. Do you have anything else over here? Hang on.
All right.
I made this one up. I don't think that's real.
That's not a thing.
C2H4 with a double bond in between.
Yeah, I don't think chemistry does. I don't think chemists like that. You better not show people that. They might get mad.
They're like, oh, it's fine. Where are we at? EJ, you got an out, I know. Have we talked about a lot of stuff?
Just really quick.
We're talking about a Starship. Yeah. Well,
to finish off my thought before we went down the water.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jack. Sorry.
Train. Is one in-space burn of Raptor enough to then move on to actually orbiting the ship? Or will they want to fly that profile multiple times and demonstrate repeatedly that they can fire a Raptor in space and safely deorbit the ship? That is a question I have. I suspect in classic SpaceX fashion. I just cut myself on a USB A to I just cut myself on a USB A to C adapter, which is what I have as a fidget toy. It's not anywhere near as nice as yours. Ow!
Wheels are falling off the wagon here. Are you okay?
Did you touch it again?
I'm bleeding out, but I'm fine. Anyways,
so no.
Did you touch it? No.
On the wall that has the snacks on it, there are 2 shelves. One has the batteries and tools, and right next to the batteries and tools, there's a first aid kit if you need one.
Thank you.
Your super chats go to first aid kits at the house as well, folks. This is when DOS comes through town. He buys first aid kits and he puts them in the truck and he puts it at the house and he puts them all over the place. So Jack has a bandage when he needs one.
Chad is saying that second one is ethylene. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that good at chemistry, guys, but yeah.
My wife is probably screaming at me right now because she knows if that's a valid molecule or not.
Yeah.
Do you see show chat the Walmart? Yeah, there you go. The Equate, we don't spend extra money. The Equate first aid kit, not sponsored by Equate or Walmart, by the way, unless it was literally in the shot over his shoulder, so he would have a Band-Aid for it. Now we don't have to live stream Jack putting a Band-Aid on his finger.
I mean, so actually, I mean, we could some chemistry here. So Chad is saying the ethylene is C2H4. Ethylene C2H4 with double bonded carbon.
Stings.
Ethane is C2H6. So
means it's working.
So Kevin, that's stable, huh? It's stable. Like, I mean, dude. Once again, I know that the angle of those molecules absolutely makes a difference. And then there's, I don't know if chirality is
the magnets fit in this. The angles of the magnets fit. But, you know, so cool. It leads me to believe that it's valid.
There you go. If it fits. It's a molecule. There you go.
Then again, I can do nonsense like this. Like, what is this?
Dude, those are cool. I kind of want that.
I know. I actually really think this is cool. I'm supposed to do a video with him. This is weird, too.
Can we do a collab with Explosions and Fire? Please? Pretty please? Pretty please?
with the magnetic molecules?
Explosions and Fire. I forgot the guy's name. I'm a terrible person. If you're watching, I love your channel. Your channel's amazing. We should do a collab.
There's an entire thing where I'm supposed to demonstrate why, like, fuel-rich or lean exhaust looks different based on these molecules and how the hydrogens get recombined, and you got extra carbons left over because you didn't have enough oxygen to actually, you know. There's a whole video I'm supposed to do on that one day. I recorded it, but I hated it, and so I'm not releasing it.
Welcome to my life. Except then we released the video.
We released the video when it's Jack.
That's super cool. Yeah, because that methane, that carbon is what, you know, you guys know, like from SLS, dealing with hydrogen is such a pain in the butt, right? You know, that's why SpaceX chose methane, because you still get all the benefits of the hydrogen, right? But that carbon is keeping it nice and stable, so it's not as much of a pain in the butt to use. That's super. I think that's super cool. It's super interesting to me.
You know, in The Simpsons, when they cut to like inside Homer's head and it's just the cymbal banging monkey, like that's
the cymbal banging monkey.
That's all I've got right now. I've got literally nothing to contribute here. I'm sorry.
We're also on the clock here.
We should probably talk about how those molecules go through pipelines.
Pipelines.
Let's see what you did there.
It's a Delta 4 thing.
That's why I hope somebody would pick up on it. Thank you, Kevin. That's where I was kind of going with that, man.
In other news, I was just going to say, in other news, Delta 4 scrubbed. We'll see you Monday. And then we just go on to the rest of the news.
Oh, no. Anyway.
This was a thing. Yeah, oh, no. Y'all might have been watching the stream. We were, of course, streaming this. Delta 4, the final Delta 4 that will fly, was all raring to go on Thursday, and it got us all the way down to T-minus 4 minutes. I guess technically T-minus 3 minutes and 58 seconds is where they called that red line. And something hit the red line, meaning something exceeded the limits, and they had to scrub the launch. Subsequently, we didn't know this at the time, but they had to do a little bit of a hold because of winds. Weather was a big challenge that day, and they were holding that for a little bit. And then while they were holding for winds, the winds cleared up, and then there was a problem with a consumable pipeline that was supposed to be carrying consumables. I think it was liquid nitrogen, LN2, I think, right, y'all?
Nitrogen, yeah.
Yeah, LN2 to the pad. It was a little confusing for a second because it was like, oh no, is it a valve? Geez, I thought only hydrogen had problems, but apparently nitrogen has problems too. It seemed like it was something with the pad GSE, and then ULA did a correction, and the correction made it sound more like it was a pipeline, not at the pad, that was providing the pad with the consumable, with the liquid nitrogen. So anyways, yeah, here we go. Is this the one that says more time? This was the second tweet. It's the tweet right before this. I don't know if we can get the tweet right before this, but they said that there was a problem with the pipeline that was supplying the vehicle, but the way they worded it made it sound like it was the pipeline away from the pad, like not right at the pad, not like a tube going up to the rocket itself. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, there's the troubleshoot the pipeline, but the other thing said pipeline too. Anyways, anybody have thoughts on this Delta 4 scrubbing?
I was going to go to Florida for Delta 4. I got too stressed out with the impending eclipse. I was like, you know what, I'll stay in Texas. I'll focus on preparing for the eclipse. I really didn't want to miss the last Delta. I told myself forever ago that I was not going to miss the last Delta. But part of what factored into my decision to miss the last Delta is that it's Delta. And things like this happen, and I don't have time to sit around in Florida waiting for Delta to go. But it's just the nature of this extremely complex system, and hydrolocks, and not launching a rocket very often from the pad. So then you run into issues, that you might otherwise have worked out if you use the pad every week or what have you. So just the way that it goes. But Delta's still good. It orange.
It was windy too. Like the cameras were shaking, and we were trying to do what we could, but it was really windy out there. So anyways, they haven't officially said another date, but I think the next window is Monday, but they haven't confirmed whether or not they're going for it Monday is the current status last I checked. Is that correct? Pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the last thing I've seen. Anyways,
Delta guys, anybody that's a Delta 4 fan or just likes watching a lot of rocket launches, you've seen a lot of Delta launches. Delta is very stubborn with its ground service equipment. As Jack was saying, it's supposed to launch a lot, but Delta ends up having like a really slow flight rate. Now, I think
slow flight rate, to put it mildly.
Yeah, right. But see, the interesting thing is that the pad's sitting out there all day. It's sitting out there for a long time. Maybe gets one launch a year, right? And, that's not a lot. I mean, I'd like to remind everybody that before Falcon 9 came along, that one launch a year, we're good, man. We got to launch this year. That's great. Now it's, we got to launch today. I just want to point out the duality of that. That's pretty cool. But I mean, part of the reason why Delta is kind of notorious for scrubbing is because that equipment that was used, and like all the GSE, Delta itself, the decision to use hydrolocks, if you have a high flight rate, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like some things don't make sense to reuse in the space program, right, on vehicles, right? But if you think about it, it actually does. Like the fairings with SpaceX, for instance. Are fairings particularly expensive? No. That's a inconsequential cost compared to like the first stage, right? But like SpaceX reuses their fairings because of the high flight rate. It's not that fairings are expensive to make comparatively, right? It's because they take time to manufacture. They're a bottleneck there, right? So, I mean, the shuttle SRBs, same way. The SRBs are refurbishable. You don't reuse those. But if the shuttle was going to fly a lot, it makes a lot of sense. The reason why Delta's pad has had all these problems over the years is because these things are designed to work. They were designed to launch something not every week, maybe like every month. And when you have something that's designed to move around a lot, or any mechanical system, and you let it sit, that's extraordinarily bad for it. Okay, here comes the cars thing with EJ. Yeah, I know. Didn't see that one coming, right? The worst thing that you can do to a vehicle is have it sit, aside from like crashing it.
I'll buy that.
The worst thing that you can do is just have it sit there. That's terrible for it. Right?
It really comes down, I think, to if you're launching so often, your rocket may be damaging your infrastructure, and your infrastructure becomes the limiting factor. And if you're not launching enough, then weather and time and the salt spray from the Atlantic Ocean ends up damaging your infrastructure, and infrastructure becomes your limiting factor, right? Like there's a balance somewhere in the middle of that. And I bet you dollars to donuts that the thing that's the initial limiting factor for the Starship flight rate is going to be repairs and reconditioning needed for the pad infrastructure. You could have a line of boosters, but if they're damaging the pads, that becomes a problem. We've seen all the work they have to do, and then we get two pads and all this other stuff. But I have a feeling that rapidly reusable launch pads may be as difficult as rapidly reusable rockets for different engineering problems, right?
I will, you know what? Some people are going to call me nuts for this, dude. I think that the pads, especially in the case of Starship, are sometimes just as complicated, if not more complicated, than the vehicles that they launch.
Yep. I
personally am a huge GSE fan. I like the machine that launches the machine. Like, if you just think about, we talked about this earlier with that pipe, that flexi pipe on the OLM. Think about the amount of propellant that SpaceX is moving in 45, 50 minutes.
Yep.
That is, I mean, if you use that equipment to somehow like drain an Olympic swimming pool, you would be able to see the water like go down. You wouldn't need like a time lapse. It would just be like,
yeah, that would be cool. Like here's a regular swimming pool and how fast it would drain. Like Ryan, can we get on that for the next Starship launch?
Yeah, Ryan, make it happen, Captain.
Swimming pools per second. Nice. It's a good idea. It really is a good idea. We do need to move on though. EJ, I know you've got an out. We're like 16 minutes away from your out here, and we still have lots of stuff to talk about. A ton more people said thanks here with more information coming through in super chats and stuff. Let me say thanks to Steve Kajovic. I don't know which one I said correctly there, but thank you so much for the support. We've got Starhopper, literally just said Starhopper.
That was
That's
me.
what they said.
That was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay, you just made an account called Starhopper. Nice.
Yeah.
Via tips.nsfspaceflight.com.
That's what you said to do. You literally told me to
true.
do it, and I did.
I did. That is what I true. That is what I said to do. Eric Spittle, thank you for the support as well. Said still hobby. Julian Ridgers upgraded to Capcom. Parker Emery. Obi-Wan can orbit. I'll allow it. I read it. There you go. There's your time in the sun. Steve again came through again. Steve with multiple supports this stream says, as a photographer, videographer, can I buy access to a good location for a future IFT launch? Steve, we've got some very interesting ideas, especially around some of the membership levels that we have. That we may start working on in future launches. Nothing to announce yet, but if you are a Starship fan who is very interested in seeing Starship launches, those upper membership levels are places you should hang out for some amount of time, because in the future we may be able to support something for folks that are there and longtime supporters. Nothing to announce yet, though. Let's see here. And then John came through as well. Here's a bit from Victoria. She's heading to bed. That was 18 minutes ago. I hope we didn't miss Victoria. But it's bedtime for Victoria. I wanted to say goodnight to you all. Good night, Victoria.
I hope she didn't hear me say the thing about Santa Claus.
Don't even say it again, dude. Seriously. Jackson,
why are you lying to these people?
You don't.
What's wrong with
like
you?
When you're dealing with kids, if you say that, you don't draw attention to it again. You just move on. You're like, everybody want ice cream? I want ice cream, right?
Yay, ice cream, Happy Meals.
Let's move on to
those nuggies.
Our last
some of those
topic.
Nuggies.
Oh, yeah, by the way, Slim is back too. That's a thing.
Yay, Slim.
So watch This Week in Spaceflight if you want everybody's favorite earring-wearing presenter to do some introductions for Slim and explanation of what's going on there. Let's talk about the other thing that's happening here, near and dear to our hearts. It's 5 years since NSF, NASA Spaceflight, started the YouTube channel here on YouTube, as opposed to starting a YouTube channel on Instagram or something, I guess. It's been 5 years since we've been here uploading videos, and along with that, we also hit a milestone. 1 million folks who have somehow accidentally clicked on the button that subscribes them to the channel. I'm not sure how y'all keep messing that up, but people clicking the subscribe button. And we have... Is EJ singing?
No.
What were you doing?
I thought it was having...
1 million!
1 million!
Okay, I got you now.
Dude, I've had that teed up for like 2 hours, man.
How many subscribers, EJ?
1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, 1 million is not actually that much.
So I think we have our special guest here. I think we might even have, if not a live video feed, a very accurate representation of our special guest. Chris, do we have you on the stream?
I've just got a horse picture of her. Oh my god! By the way, that's a very nice horse. So
it is a nice horse. Look at that mane.
Quality horse. Yeah. Quality horse. Yeah.
Oh my god! I was too busy laughing at the special guest bit, but then saw a picture of a horse. Oh dear. Well, you don't want to see me at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's not going to be a pretty sight. So either ways, but yeah, it's a big anniversary. I'm trying to think of what I can say past what we were saying in the Della 4 Heavy stream. Because
hey, Chris.
Yeah, yes, AJ.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Why the long face?
Oh my gosh.
You're welcome.
Channeling Sawyer there, aren't you?
Yeah, he's not here. I had to represent.
I love the fact that we're on this view right now. I do believe that's one of the early Mary clips that I may have bandicammed into that YouTube channel in the early days.
I think is it the first video? Somebody correct me in the back channel. I think this is the first video.
It could be. It's definitely. It was quite impressive. People forget. If you go back onto the very early videos, you'll see Hopper tests. People forget Hopper was actually spouting fire through the vents during his hop test. Because remember, the 150-meter hop was not the first hop. She actually hopped. I called her she. Actually hopped slightly, I think 30 meters was it to start with? Jack, can you remember?
Yep.
First hop was like 2 inches. Second hop was
it's like a little.
Second hop was 20 meters. Last hop was 150.
There we go. So that's kind of memory lane of where they've come from. It doesn't seem that long ago, does it? It does not seem that long. We know how long ago it was now because of the anniversary, but it feels like the progression from Starhopper to this massive, super heavy booster with a ship on top that's now working quite well. I can say that now. They're looking to get the re-entry part right on IFT4. I think that's a massive achievement. It's a great progression curve for where we may be in 5 years' time.
No kidding. That was it 5 years ago. This is where are we going to be 5 years in the future? I don't know what this video is.
I'll tell you what, boy, that's a nice truck.
Yeah. That's KSC. That's at the Cape.
There's a launch happening behind it.
That's right. It's one of our KSC guys. He said they were basically working on another pad, and they were just parking up. It's a regular thing. It's an Atlas V launch. Remember that? And that is literally from the closest you can be. They were just parking up and watching the launch. It's one of the.
Is that an L2 leak sort of thing?
It's an L2 leak. Yeah. In the early days of the channel, I was thinking, what can we put on past just Mary's clips? And so I took a few videos from L2 and just put them on there, just like almost like what shorts are today. I probably invented shorts.
Well, you invented shorts. I'm sorry or thank you. I'm not sure which one to say. Kevin, do any of those videos, those early videos, have thumbnails? Because we have to talk about the genesis of thumbnails.
Unrivaled thumbnail gang from Chris Bergenator. Also, I'm posting in the back channel. Oh no, that's not the right link. Don't look at that. I have a video of the fireball, the Starhopper fireball, that it was belching fire. Nice. So stand by for that too.
Chris, didn't you used to not only did because the story, why we started uploading videos to YouTube is that we would upload, Mary and folks would upload videos to the forums, but the way it was set up, that would take forum storage space and bandwidth.
Yep.
Right.
So I'll tell.
And then you pay through the nose for that.
Oh, big time. I'll tell the story again. Right. So where we were is the site was a new site with the forum as well. The forum is a PHP forum, which means everything's attached. It's not like Reddit is, where it's hyperlinked to an external image hosting site or anything like that.
Yep.
We host everything. The database is massive. So Mary was uploading her clips. Mary turns up on the forum. I mean, I live in Boca Chica Village, and I'm taking these photographs and videos of the early days of Starbase before it was even called Starbase.
It wasn't even called that, yeah.
So we're all woohoo, wonderful, and that basically got word of mouth out there to the point that people were hot linking the attachment links in the forum to other sites. Basically, it was feeding off our servers into other sites. And I said, Mary, this is killing us because I could see the bandwidth going up and up and up and up, and that rises the cost of the server cost, and it was not going to be a something we could keep up with. So I said to Mary, can we put them on YouTube? Can we just take the clips and put them on YouTube? That way we can then post the YouTube link in the forum threads that you were posting. And
so we're not paying for the data anymore, paying for the bandwidth.
And Mary said yes. And then we went and progressed past that point where Mary had several clips, and she would write out on a list the running order of the clips, and I would play them in VLC, and I'd record them on Bandicam, pausing between clips, and if the audio needed a scratch audio over it, I would play a scratch audio in Windows Media Player. So Bandicam records any sound on your PC, so that worked. Unfortunately, when the videos got longer and things like email pings were going off, whatever, I'd have to start again from scratch. So they could take several hours just to record 5 or 6 clips together and then put them on YouTube. But I did the thumbnails in MS Paint, the XP version.
Nice. Nice.
Because the newer version's rubbish. The XP version, which you can still download for Windows 10 and 11 and what have you, is far superior. So I was quite proud of thumbnails. My thumbnails told the story. I would take 4 screenshots from the clips of Mary and put them into a 4-box and make that the thumbnail, and then use Bandicam's text editor across it and put the actual title of the video in there.
There you go. Yeah. Look, there's the original thumbs.
Something we should mention too is so water towers can fly, right? That was from Starhopper's flight, was from Tim yelling that. That was we were both on top of Andy, aka
Andy's roof.
Nomad's roof. Nomad on the NSF forums. I think he bought that place because he wanted to see SpaceX development and be right there. I could be mistaken. He might have already owned it, but either way, Nomad lived next to Mary. That's how Mary found out, I believe, about NSF. So It's just funny how the universe works out sometimes. It's pretty nifty.
The montage thumbnail. There's one.
Yep.
The SpaceX with a little picture-in-picture. Like there's multiple. Yeah.
So this went on for a period of time, and then we were like, okay, hang on a second. These are getting a lot of views. Like let's do some. Chris, your thumbnails are great. We love your thumbnails. Best thumbnail game in the business. But yeah, when I started editing the dailies, and then when Brady started doing the thumbnails, I think it was like just pouring gas on the fire even more, because the content from Mary was just insane. And yeah, it's just been a steady progression since, right?
Yep.
It's actually quite crazy, because it was never intended to be a channel that would gain subscribers and views and whatever. It was literally just to protect the site. That was we never went into this thinking, let's start a YouTube channel, let's try and make a big success out of it. It was never that. That's the funny thing, that the success has happened because it got its own momentum, and then we got to the stage where we're thinking, this is taking off quite a bit here, we're going to do things more properly.
Like some of these thumbnails that are coming across there. There's like a couple like, oh, that one, wow, somebody put a drop shadow behind that text. Can you imagine whether or not these thumbnails would fly on YouTube today? But this is literally what we were doing. Look, that one has some text on it. Uploading the videos, and it wasn't like, oh, we're going to become a successful YouTube channel or anything like that. It's like, oh my God, we want to stop paying for bandwidth. Where can we put videos that we don't have to pay for bandwidth? And that's how these videos got here, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's literally that. And I like watching this scrolling past these old videos, because you can see how we tried to widen it out. It was very important we didn't have the channel just be Starship or SpaceX, because they are the big name in town, let's face it, but it is... The site itself covers all rockets, so we had to find ways of making sure we showed other rockets in the channel as well. And that's where I was taking stuff out of L2 and what have you, because that was our original content to use. And that was the way around it, rather than just sort of like the game a lot of channels play, where they just basically just take the official recording and just put it on their channel.
Just put it on their own channel, yeah.
I wanted to keep that unique, like the site was. So that was kind of a nice little foundation to make sure that we were always looking at original content going forward.
Oh my gosh! Oh God! Wait,
SN3 failure? What?
No.
What?
The salvaging starships SN3 thrust section. You know what I wouldn't give to see a nice clear shot of a thrust section these days, or a nice clear shot of a dome flip. Like, there's so many things with the Star Factory, and with the growth of the facility into a fully fledged rocket factory, that we just don't see a lot of things anymore. I mean, even just Raptors, like, it's really hard to get a lens, if at all, on a Raptor engine prior to it being installed on a vehicle. And it's just, these videos are really a trip down memory lane.
I'll say something else, by the way, while I'm here, is that the success of the videos is not the fact that they were original content. It's the fact that Mary would be out there all day. I remember Mary being waiting for a Raptor to arrive, literally hours and hours and hours staking out for the Raptor to arrive. Not many people could do that. Nope. And that's where you'd get the shots, and that's the important thing. People won't care. Well, they do, unfortunately, but people really don't care about thumbnails, apart from the people who are made to click on them because the thumbnail looks great. But the content is everything. You could have the best thumbnail in the world and a terrible video, and people will eventually turn off. So the content is everything. So all praise again to Mary, and that's why Mary's getting the gold plaque. It was never even what should we do with the gold plaque? It was even before, like, we're at 800,000. If we ever get to 1 million, Mary's getting a plaque. It was just so obvious on so many levels that Mary's going to get it.
Yeah, the sheer perseverance from her to stake things out. And I mean, we call them daily videos still. We put out like 2 a week, 3 a week sometimes of the daily style videos.
We still call them daily. Yeah, they're daily style. Yeah.
If you're new to the channel, or you weren't around back then, for like, I want to say 3 years, we put out a video every single day. And so the amount of dedication on Mary's part to gather footage, it's a rainy day, it's a Sunday, there's nobody working. Like, how do you squeeze that sponge and find something interesting to exhibit? And then, I mean, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so great, but like, Mary was out there all day shooting, and then I would be up all night editing, and then I would get the video done just before 10 a.m. Eastern, and then it would go live, and then the process would start again. And that was like years of my life.
This is the story of the orange banners. Like, we finally got into orange banner territory here. And like, when we started to make these thumbnails that weren't just like picture in picture pasted over each other, Jack put these thumbnails together. And like, didn't you just choose it because you like orange?
The thumbnails, I think, were Brady, but the choice of orange specifically, I will take credit for that, because yes, I like orange. That's the reason the intro says it's orange. I like orange. It's the best color. I mean, it's just like orange watch band.
What do you do?
Orange shoe. Like, come on, orange. It's good.
It's like, what do you do on the thumbnails? Like, oh, we should dress up. We should put a little bit more effort into the thumbnails. And we start editing these thumbnails, and the first thumbnails that we edit in this manner have this orange banner. It's like always been an NSF thing, because Jack likes orange. Jack chose a color. Brady made a thumbnail, and you scroll back through the history of the channel, and we've always had these orange banners. You still see orange banners, like, to this day. We have videos that we put out, and there will be an orange accent or an orange highlight. All the Starbase sort of stuff throws back to that original orange.
Yeah, and
it's orange.
Just really quickly, to be fair, it's not just because I like orange. I mean, I do, but it's a very specific orange. It's FF4F00.
International orange.
That's the hex code. It's international orange, which is used in test flights, and it's a test program, so it just works. EJ, do we have to say goodbye to you?
EJ's about like, wait, what is going on over here?
Also, that's the color for parking cones.
Yes.
It's the color for parking cones. Not at SpaceX. Those are all white.
That's also
true. It's weird.
EJ, I know you had an out.
Yeah.
We've been just here. We're probably going to keep reminiscing, I guess. Do you need
keep
to take
going.
off,
This
dude?
is great. Yeah, I need to go.
Okay.
I have to go be normal tonight for a change.
Normal.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
You know what that means?
I was told to do it. So anyway, thank you for having me on, as always, guys. I do appreciate it. This is a privilege being on here with this company. So thank you very much, and I'll tip my cap. You guys keep on reminiscing.
Good deal. Y'all know EJ. EJ's over here on our NSF Lives. He streams on Twitch. He was playing some game about workers and resources earlier today, it looked like. Oh, wait, no, he's gone. He was supposed to be. I'm just doing a plug for his Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/EJ_SA. Somebody put the link in chat if you want to follow EJ other places. But
workers and resources. That sounds like commie talk.
EJ, you're clear. Just go quick. Okay, bye. Anyways, take it easy, EJ.
People in chat are asking what the hex code was. It's FF4F00. FF4F100.
It's somewhere in the shot from Starbase right now that we're getting on Infinity. I guarantee you somewhere in there is the international orange. It's one of those Starbase long-range shots.
Nice.
Anyways, that first video that we looked at, that was 5 years ago in a couple hours today. It's not like, oh, we had an anniversary or it's coming up in 2 weeks, so we're going to celebrate it now. Like, it was literally today, 5 years ago, that first video. There you go. There's Infinity.
It's orange.
It's international. It's orange.
But yeah, if you want to hear our live reactions to hitting 1 million, I am pretty proud of that stream, just because one, it was a really good Delta stream, and two,
hey guys, yeah, I'm back, but I have to jet. I gotta go pick up Drummer at the airport. I don't know how much longer they're gonna go with this here, but yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful shot. It is also orange.
To be like too cool for school. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, yes, we were very excited, but we don't want to make like a big cringy.
I have to go here, but just leave it up. We'll be fine.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Like,
that's not a good idea.
Like,
no, I don't want to do that. What I will do is give the YouTube link and go from there.
It's like the first million, right?
I'll give the link to the stream. There it is. And here, let me just cut that out there. And I gotta head back over here, and then we gotta go over here like this, go over here like this, and then go over here like this. There we go. You can trust us. We're professionals. Yeah, I'm gonna leave now. So yeah, guys. Actually, I gotta go pick up Drummer at the airport. He's been waiting at the airport for an hour. I gotta go pick him up, but. Hey, we're not done for the night. I'm coming back. The second we get back here, I'm booting up Friday Night Racing, and we're going to do that, so that should be fun. Oh, boy. So why the long face? Hey, I said that. I said it. I said it. I took the low-hanging fruit. I don't care. I'm not sorry. So, yeah, guys, I gotta go make a trek into the city. I'll be back. Friday Night Racing is coming back. The second we get back here, I'm coming back here and we're firing up the stream. So, I gotta go. Drummer's waiting for me. I will see you guys in about an hour. Thank you very much for watching. See you in a bit.